Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing our deep dive into this Michigan program heading into that 2024 season. Dale, we took a look at the offensive line, took a look at the defensive line. Now we're taking a look at the offensive skill positions, by far the position groups that you have the most question marks heading into that 2024 year, right? Finding a starting quarterback. What's that running back rotation going to look like? Who are the wide receivers that are stepping up in 2024? Want to talk about some guys that we think step up, have that conversation about who's going to be Michigan's starting quarterback heading into that 2024 year. Extremely excited to do so. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out, as always, to the Michigan fans. It has been a magical last 6 months for the boys. Many of you guys know the fellas are massive Michigan fans. There's not a program in this country that we like talking more about than the Michigan Wolverines. Cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas like you guys have. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, 3 predictions. 1, starting quarterback in 2024, leading rusher, leading receiver. We'll give you ours. Would love to hear from you guys as well. Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box, starting with what we saw from this Michigan offense in 2023, and then what do we want to see Michigan build on heading into that 2024 year?
Yeah, I think for Michigan's offense, I think the defense maybe gets the credit it deserves for sure.
Rightfully so.
Come at the expense of almost people thinking this Michigan offense is kind of average, if you will.
Yep.
I think if you look at the numbers and you kind of watch the games, that wasn't an average offense. They did it a little different than a USC or a Washington or an Oregon or some of those high octane offenses, but they moved the ball effectively. They were really efficient. They don't turn the ball over and make mistakes, and they score a lot of points at the end of the day. So again, this offense, I think the bones of it is really good. I think you stick with that smash mouth physical football. I do think there's an extra gear to get to, though. I think there were too many moments where you stagnated. You think about that Alabama game, moments of that Penn State game where it just it looked like they get stuck a little bit. And I think you'd like to figure out some answers maybe to that and maybe open something up. And there is another gear to get to. But at the end of the day, the base of this offense is really
I think that's what you're most excited about is this Michigan offense. It scored 36 points per game. That was top 15 in the country, averaged 8.9 yards per pass attempt, top 15 in the country. This was a good offense in 2023. But for Michigan fans, what you're most excited about is there is another gear for this Michigan offense. And the thing I have written in my notes is I just would like to see a little bit more space in this offense. And for those who listened to my breakdown of Kirk Campbell the other day, I think that's what you're most excited about is you go back to Kirk Campbell and how he called those plays against ECU. Still a lot of space, attacking the boundary, attacking the middle of the field, getting the ball to your playmakers in space and letting them operate after the catch. And I was doing a little side project, kind of nerding out last night, looking at some yards after the catch numbers. The Oregon Ducks had 3,000 yards after the catch, playing one less game than Michigan. Michigan had only 1,300 yards after the catch. What does that tell you is Michigan didn't necessarily make it a priority to get the ball to their playmakers on the outside in space. That is one thing I would like to see Michigan, Kirk Campbell, go to a little bit more heading into that 2024 year.
Yeah, I think a lot of that kind of stems from what they do in the passing game, and that is what you kind of mentioned, being able to hit all portions of the field. And you saw really good moments where you think that Ohio State game, working in the middle of the field with the tight ends, destroying Ohio State with that, being really effective. So they had things to go to that really worked. And again, those tight ends led by Colson Loveland, especially coming this year, they're going to be the guy for sure. But I think you do need to see something get out to the boundary. And you think about that throw to Cornelius Johnson. I know they missed it against Alabama, but you'd like to probably see more of that type of route. Because again, I just think when you see sometimes with Michigan, you almost need to cover inside the hashes and 15 yards deep, and you kind of have the Michigan offense bottled up to an extent. I think you'd like to see that whole field be utilized more because, again, I think it opens up everything, and you just don't see any really good offensive play that can.
And it would help the run game as well, and it would help with the underneath route concepts. When you show the ability to attack the deeper third, just the ability to. Defenses now need to play 2 high safeties. You saw a lot of box safeties, single high safeties, 8 7-man boxes because, it wasn't really much of a secret what Michigan wanted to do. If you show to opposing defenses that you're willing to push the ball down the field, if they want to load the box, maybe you don't see all those loaded boxes. Maybe you have a little bit more success running the football, working those short underneath concepts. That's what I'm looking for from Michigan. Just a little bit more space, operating and attacking all portions of the field. Dill, it's about time we get into the conversation. And it's been heated between us. Who do you want to see as the starting quarterback? Would love to hear from you guys. Dill and I are about to go at it here. Dill, you're an Alex Orji guy, and I'll give you the floor here to make your argument.
I mean, I think it will be him, just kind of looking at how they used J.J. McCarthy the year before he got the reins, how they kind of started to work Alex Orji, and even just the way Jim talked about him in terms of what he kind of adds. I just think he is the guy, I think, again, fits what they want to do. They want to run the ball physically. He can obviously really do that. I think he even adds a little bit of an additional dynamic than what JJ did. And JJ was a good runner for sure, but I don't think they wanted him carrying the ball 10 plus times in doing it physically. I think you're pretty comfortable with Orji doing that. And again, I mean, we don't know what he is as a passer. He might be really good. He might maybe not be.
Alex Orji has rocket arm. Like you've seen that in the spring game. This dude can absolutely, he has a howitzer. Now, I think the question is, all right, what's the accuracy look like? What do the progressions look like? Are you delivering the ball on time and accurately? Those are the things that, I mean, we all knew the Joe Milton experience, man. Like you saw it at Tennessee as well. You can throw it 90 yards, but if you're not going through your progressions, you're not being accurate with the football, it doesn't really matter. So I think that's the questions that we got to see answer for Alex Orji. The guy I would throw in, and I'm going to get some heat maybe in the comment section. And Dill, you're wearing the shirt here. True freshman Jaden Davis. And this is a guy, and why I say Jaden Davis to start as a true freshman, I'm not necessarily saying I would love to see it because I do think Alex Orji, that's a very, very exciting concept for Michigan. What did Jaden Davis do really, really well out of high school? And why did he fly under the radar to a lot of recruiting services? He doesn't necessarily have the biggest body or the biggest arm, but what does he do at such a high level? He is a point guard of the offense. The ball gets out accurately. It gets out on time. And at times, that's really all you want from your quarterback at Michigan, right? Not asking to do anything special, but not make the mistakes and be the point guard of the offense. If Jaden Davis can do that as a true freshman, which he did exceptionally well at the high school ranks, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to trotting out Jaden Davis as a true freshman starting quarterback in 2024. Some other names, you got Davis Warren. I think it is a guy that's been in the system for a long time. Jack Tuttle coming back, a veteran guy that you can rely on. Or, I mean, the mystery box here, after spring practice, you take a look at the transfer portal market, right? If Alex Orji, Jaden Davis, Jack Tuttle, Davis Warren don't really show you much, I could certainly see Michigan going out for a veteran quarterback in the transfer portal that can maybe help Michigan win some games in 2024.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that will probably come down to whether Tuttle gets his clearance. I know he's searching for that 7th year. Obviously, he's dealt with some injuries. So if they don't get him back, you might be right. They might look to go because, again, you kind of look. It's pretty young room after him and a talented room to an extent and kind of a diverse set of skills, if you will. But I think, I don't know. For me, at the end of the day, I still think Orji is going to be the guy. Yeah. He should be the guy. I think they want to run the ball. But there was also always the part of like caveman fan in me that wants to see the true freshmen.
Man, like I don't even know what I'm more excited for. Watching Alex Orji play quarterback or true freshman Jaden Davis. Because Alex Orji taking all the reps. I mean, that is a very exciting proposition. And you said it best. It fits what Michigan wants to do. Make no mistake about it. We're talking about downfield passing attack. They're going to be running the football a lot. And Alex Orji opens up another way that you can really get that run game going. And Dill, kind of a perfect segue into the running back room. And this is a very interesting room. And again, doing some kind of late night reading on this Michigan program. Obviously, Blake Corum, bell cow back, Michigan legend, one of my favorite Michigan players of all time. Donovan Edwards is a guy that I think a lot of Michigan fans are excited about, including myself. This was a guy that was targeted 34 times, caught 30 of them. Truly a dynamic player out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Dill, if I'm talking about leading rushers here, I'm going to go Kalel Mullings. This is a guy that averaged 6.2 yards per carry. Here's the kicker. 4.1 yards after contact. You can tell Kalel Mullings played linebacker in a time before. This is a guy that runs low pads, always falling forward. Blake Corum, to put that in context, only ran for 2.42 yards after contact. Kalel Mullings almost doubled him up. This is a guy that you take a look at how Michigan wants to run the football. Smash mouth. Sherrone Moore, last time I checked, still the head coach of this program. And then Kalel Mullings fits exactly what the Michigan Wolverines want to do running the rock.
I actually love the breakdown of this offense. And again, I think there's part of me that wants to see more Donovan Edwards. Because again, last year, I mean, they ran Blake Corum a lot, as they should have. but there's still that, like, when you see him go in that Washington game and he gets this one shot to make a play, obviously made two of the biggest plays in the whole game. I mean, there is something that, again, Donovan Edwards probably has things to work on in terms of being that all down back, being able to run through contact a little bit, being able to get kind of the most out of every run. I think that's the one thing you think, or the one thing that you're still kind of waiting to see him do that on a more consistent basis. But again, you kind of mentioned, I think the tandem of him and Kalel, with Kalel doing that as well as anybody, maybe not having the same long speed and explosive burst as a Donovan Edwards, but I think that unit can be really good together. I think they complement each other well. And I think it gives Donovan Edwards a better chance to be on the field more. And again, we talk about the explosiveness of this offense coming from the pass. If he's on the field for the more rushes, it gets more explosive inherently because he is the most explosive running back in that room for the past 2 years.
Hey, what I want to see, I'll meet you in the middle here. Don Edwards, Khalil Mullings, Alex Orji in the backfield. I love it. You know, like Khalil Mullings, a phenomenal fullback. Like when you use him as a lead blocker, that dude gets downhill. He's extremely physical. Dill, I'll ask you this, and I would love to hear in the comment section, leading rusher for this Michigan program in 2024.
You throw a little wrinkle and say Alex Orji. No, I don't know that it'll be him. I do think it's going to be Donovan Edwards. I think people kind of compare how him and Blake run. It's definitely different, and Blake probably is a little more suited to what Michigan wants to do. But man, if Donovan Edwards gets more touches, he's going to hit a handful of big plays. And I think it's hard to kind of account for that. When you can hit that 80-yard play, you can rack up a lot of yards, and you don't necessarily need to be as consistent as what Blake Corum did. I do think it will be Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, I'm going Khalil Mullings. And before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to some of the young backs that we might see, right? Cole Caban, I know I'm very excited about what he could potentially do in this offense. Benjamin Hall, I mean, Thickums. This is a guy that has thick legs, runs through contact. And then Jordan Marshall, true freshman. This is a guy that I think can play as a true freshman as well. Running back room's absolutely loaded. I'm excited to see how it shakes up. Now, you take a look at the wide receiver room. You're replacing Roman Wilson. You're replacing a guy like Cornelius Johnson. A lot of young talent in this room. Dill, I'll open the floor to you. Who do you want to kind of dive into first?
I actually kind of love what you have coming back. And Roman Wilson was really good. I think wildly underappreciated in a sense. You're starting to see him dominate the Senior Bowl a little bit. But I think Tyler Morris is going to have a year. Again, I think what you saw enough from him to think a guy that I just think can maybe do it all more so than what we've kind of seen in the past from Michigan wideouts, where, again, they've had their skill sets for sure, but just being able to move the way he moves, catch the ball the way he catches the ball, run the way he can run downfield. I think dare I say, one of the more polished, complete wide receivers we've probably seen in Michigan for a while, or at least has potential to be that guy.
I think he has the wide receiver one written all over him, right? I mean, as a guy that can attack all portions of the field, a really clean route runner. The guy I would highlight is Samaj Morgan. You talk about getting the football to your playmakers in space. I mean, like Samaj Morgan is that guy you want the football in his hands, right? 200 receiving yards in 2023 as a true freshman. 157 of those came after the catch. And so this is a guy that getting screens, getting end arounds, getting some of those quick hitters where you let him operate in space. Really excited for that. Though Fred Moore was the guy that we were hearing a lot about during spring practice, summer campus, potentially the breakout. Didn't necessarily have that. He's a guy I have my eyes on. Christian Dixon, somebody that we've kind of been waiting to break out. Maybe you see a little bit of him, but I mean, you talk about all these wide receivers. Like, make no mistake about it, the best pass catcher on this team and one of the best pass catchers I truly think in 2024 is going to be Colson Loveland.
Yeah, and Colson Loveland, he'll be the guy. He was so good last year. I think you almost want to – I don't know. He got used a lot, but you almost want to see more. I think
I want to see the offense. I want Colson Loveland almost to get the Brock Bowers treatment.
Well, I think he's worked down the field more than he did. I thought in some of the games against the bigger teams Michigan played, you started to see him just be more used underneath. I think when you saw the teams like Michigan State or some of like Rutgers, for example, they let him go to work downfield more. I kind of wish that they didn't go away from that at times against teams like Ohio State or Alabama and see him use more of the field. But I mean, he is the guy. He's the best player on this offense for sure.
I mean, he's the guy that you talk about having a new quarterback coming in. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better safety blanket. I think he's the best tight end in the country next year. I don't really think it's that close. So Colson Loveland, like, I'll ask you, leading receiver. I think I know the answer. My answer is Colson Loveland. Who you got?
I think it's going to be Tyler Morris. I think Tyler Morris is primed for a breakout year. And that's not an anti-Colson Loveland thing. I just think from the tight end position, it's really hard to lead the team in receiving yards. You kind of look across. I mean, who really does it at the college football level? It's really rare. I think Tyler Morris is really good. I want to see him be a feature of this offense. I think he maybe should have been more of a feature this year, frankly, and played more over certain guys. But I think he's gonna have a big year. I'm looking for him to have he could kind of be that number one that Michigan's kind of been waiting to have, that really steady, consistent, dominant number one receiver.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Morris, Colson Loveland, I'd throw Samaj Morgan. Those are probably my 3 picks. Would love to hear from you guys again. Bill, that'll do it. This will be a conversation that we have a lot during spring practice, monitoring the quarterback situation, hearing who's getting the quarterback 1 reps. We'll continue to have this conversation. Opinions might change. Takes might change. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.